Today, I'm still with Philip McKernan at his home in Boulder, Colorado for part 2 of this 2-part episode. You can catch part 1 from last week on the GSDshow.com, but as a recap, I got a chance to see Philip give an incredible talk in San Diego to a huge audience, and I had to get him on this show. Philip works with entrepreneurs and business leaders all over the world, and when people are seeking clarity about their future or want to move through roadblocks seen and unseen, they call Philip. He's worked with the Canadian Olympic team, the Pentagon, and has shared the stage with other speakers like the Dalai Lama and Richard Branson. He has traveled to 80 countries around the globe and has worked with orphans in Sri Lanka, Peru, India, and Guatemala, and has written 4 books despite being dyslexic, and his first documentary film was just released in 2016. And today, he's going to share some more valuable business insights with you.
If you own a gym or you need a gym, this is your guy.
My name's Mike, and I help fitness studios that are ready to take action, work hard, and grow their studios. In this very saturated industry, there's tons of competition, but the opportunities are incredible. We'll cover the most common challenges in the fitness world and invite guests in the show that have learned to overcome them and share their strategies with you. This is the GSD Show. So I want to talk a little bit about vulnerability. I got to spend a little time and talk with Marcus Lemonis from The Prophet, and he really opened up to everybody about his story. I mean, we knew the hardest stuff I think he's ever gone through, which got everybody really engaged right away. And he went into vulnerability and told us why he told that story. But, you know, right now I notice the small business owners that I see, I get to talk with. I talk with I don't know how many every week doing what I do. And the ones that are the most successful, it seems like, are the ones that are totally okay with being open and vulnerable. And the ones that are having a really, really hard time, they act as if. They want to act like they've already been here, or they act bigger than they are, thinking that'll actually attract and acquire more people because they've established some sort of a status that people want to be around. I want to hear your take on vulnerability. How important do you think it is in growing your brand or really attracting people to you?
I think it's vital.
In what way?
I think it's vital. My only challenge and caveat is that vulnerability, and not the way you presented it, but the vulnerability is now being presented as a tool, as a strategy,
right?
As a way of drawing people in, creating rapport, deepening relationships. You know, there's a strategic element to vulnerability, and that's what vulnerability was never designed for that. I don't know what the dictionary says about vulnerability. I don't know what the technical definition of vulnerability is, and quite frankly, I don't care. Here's what I believe vulnerability is. It's truth.
And that's what your whole talk was about.
It's fucking truth. That's all it is. So if I'm stepping on a stage and I'm so nervous and I want to vomit on top of myself, never mind the person in the front row, and I'm so scared, and if I choose to share that with the audience, you know, I'm scared today. I'm not making shit up. I'm just saying this is who I am. So what you're saying is, what we're saying is, if you choose not to be vulnerable, to be weak, which is weakness and vulnerability, this is where it's real friendship, real leadership is where you have the courage to share both philosophies and vulnerabilities. That's where it's at, I believe, in the world today. And if you have the courage to share the vulnerabilities, what you're basically saying is, look at me. This is me. The challenge today is people are now, if you look at speakers over the last number of years, is you've had speakers going on stage, never showing vulnerability. It's all about, hey, look at me with this guy, and look at me with this guy, and look at me in my car. And it's very insecurely positioned. And the reason for that is you're trying to impress people. You're trying to put this foot forward. Now it's starting to move into, now you have speakers going on stage sharing deep stories. And what I'd love you and all of us and your audience to sit there, and the next time you hear a speaker and you sit there in an audience, or you even listen to somebody in a podcast or this show, and just sit there and listen to their if they choose to be vulnerable, and just check in, not hear, check in and say, do I believe them? Do I believe them? And the challenge for people who, when they're vulnerable, is that some people choose to be vulnerable and share a story, but you can tell one thing often, is they're not in touch with that pain. They haven't really done the work around that story. So when they tell the story, it's a very deep, vulnerable story, but it's very intellectual. They're not connected to the emotion. So vulnerability I hope people don't use it as a tool. But when you use it in an authentic way, in other words, you've really done the work on your story, so therefore you can sit and you can share your pain. And it's not easy, but you can do it in a way that you can connect with it. When you do that, the world conspires to support you. People will fall in love with you. There's people around you that there might be fallout, but there are people that shouldn't be in your life in the first place. Mm-hmm. It is probably the greatest leadership opportunity in the world. Not a tool, not a strategy. It is the greatest parenting. Let's talk about parenting for a second. Parents who go behind closed doors and cry and then come out and put a smile on with their kids, what you're doing is you're bringing your kids up to believe that everything was great. Being vulnerable in front of your children is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your children, because what you're saying is you're allowing your kids not to see you as a hero, not to put you on a pedestal. And if you do that for them, what will end up happening is they won't go out into this world seeking a wife or a husband or a business partner that is iconic and incredible and without flaw and is a hero. They'll go out and know that everybody's got vulnerabilities. You're also going to inspire your children and give them permission
to be vulnerable
themselves. To come to you someday and go, Dad, I'm not okay. Mom, I'm not happy. But when you tell them all the time, do you think they're going to come to you? No, they're not. They're going to internalize it and they're going to get depressed. They're going to internalize it and wonder why they're broken.
What's wrong with me?
What is wrong with me?
Why can't I be more like my mom? Or why can't you be more like my mom?
I'm broken.
Right.
Ultimately, they don't say that, but I'm broken. There's something, I'm not wired the way everybody else is wired. Something's different in me. And the amount of young people today, let me just tell you a very quick snippet on this. I ran an event one day, it doesn't matter the context of it. And I remember there was about 150 people in the room, and this man who's a client of mine comes up and he's got his young son, and I think his son was 17 at the time, if my memory is correct. Lovely young guy, and he was very moved. He's not a very tactile individual, quite reserved. And I was taken aback because I knew about him, but he came up and he gave me a hug. And I was very moved. He obviously, it was very heart-opening for him, the event. Not me necessarily, but the event. And I said to him, do you mind me asking you, what's the number one takeaway for you? And he looked me in the eye and he said something that I think every single parent needs to know. He said, it's great to know that adults have problems too. Mm-hmm. Because we're in a world as parents, many of us, where we tell our kids what they should and shouldn't do, how they should and shouldn't feel. And we don't create this environment of real vulnerability. And therefore they don't feel safe coming to you. And they think you've got your shit together, which in reality you don't. But if you create an environment, you allow them to see your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, as well as your incredible strengths.
So parenting, I can see that, and I think that's amazing. And I'm going to make sure I start doing that in my house. What about as a business owner with your employees?
Same principle.
Same principle.
You deal with people. It's exactly the same principle. Who needs a boss coming in every day telling them everything's wonderful and everything's okay? Mm-hmm. When they're probably looking at them saying, well, that's bullshit. Who needs a boss that every day on Facebook are posting the greatest, best photographs of themselves? We know it's not true, so why do we pretend? Everyone knows that. I mean, if we still believe that there's people in this world that have it all figured out, we're screwed, because we must have our head up our ass or our head in the sand, because it is just not the case. Now, we don't want a boss that comes in and constantly downloads on us either.
Sure.
But if there's this place where you turn around and if you can have the courage to come into a business meeting and say, hey guys, you know what? Sales are good, but I'm feeling under pressure. Or, I need you to work a bit harder this week. I'm having some issues at home. Don't need to get into it. Like, some people just find that alien. To me, that's just life. It's just life. Mm-hmm. And if you have the courage to do that, I think what you'll do is people will lean in more. People will support you more. People will be more loyal. You'll create more retention. And what you'll do is you'll show them your humanity. You'll show them that you've got a pulse and that you've got a heart. And what they'll do is they'll fall in love with you. I know that's not the objective necessarily for you as a business owner, is for your your employees to fall in love with you. But if they have a genuine level of respect, they will walk through fire for you. So vulnerability breeds success. Vulnerability breeds loyalty. Vulnerability breeds desire and passion and drive. And I think it's a win-win all the way around.
All right. So I want to talk about another topic that I think has been a real challenge. People are real passionate about what they do in our industry, in fitness especially. I mean, a lot of these guys love fitness. They wake up, they eat it, they breathe it, they sleep it. And they really, what I hear a lot is, I've achieved the goal of losing weight. A lot of them have a story themselves, right? They were overweight, or they were struggling with eating and bad eating habits or stress, and finding this new life in fitness really helped them overcome that and feel so much better. And they're on a mission to help as many people as they can with that, because they can relate to where people are at, especially when they come in and they have similar issues to what they've dealt with. What I've learned is kind of what you talked about, mindset versus soul set. They're wanting to intellectually and use tools. They want to intellectually sell the person a program, as opposed to really finding out why this person's here, if this is a right fit, if I can really help you, if you're ready for it. But they're really just asking questions that are strategically in the script, right? And they're almost not even listening. They're just kind of waiting for them to finish talking to get to the next question in the script.
Yeah.
And it's hard for some people, because I think sales, to me, there is some level of intuition. And I don't think it's necessarily a sales intuition. It's an intuition to listen and to like actively listen and care about what the person's saying. Some people, I think, have it naturally more than others. I think it can definitely be developed as you practice it more and more. And I think as you learn and study it more and more. But from your take on it, because you've sold in the past and you're selling every day regardless, because really when you're up there and you're talking, you're really wanting people to understand and buy into what you're saying, really understand your message and start thinking about it, right? So what do you say to somebody that's struggling with sales? They feel like on paper they're doing all the right things, they're asking all the right questions. What do you suggest to them? What do they start thinking about and doing to make sure they really get to the heart of the right conversation to get more people wanting to join their gym?
Okay, so let's, Joe, what's coming up for me? It's so interesting that I'm super excited about this question. And I'm so excited. I've got so much to say in this. I don't know where to start, but there's something coming up. So just trust me on this one if you're okay. So I want you to, this is not designed to expose you, I promise. I want you to think of one person. You don't even have to use their name, but just say, yeah, I got it. One person in your life that you would like to deepen the relationship with. Now, bear with me, and this is for all of you to consider. Okay, so let's make this about the audience, but it's all of you to consider. Take one relationship in this world that you would love to deepen. Now, here's the thing. Irrespective whether you believe that person is capable of it or even wants it. So you might have a dad who you don't talk to and you don't get on well with, and they show no real interest in developing the relationship. You would love to deepen the relationship, but you're sitting here going, yeah, but they don't want to, I've tried. Don't do that. One relationship that you would love to deepen, irrespective of whether they want to or have ever shown any desire or even have the ability, the emotional ability, the mental ability, the physical ability, whatever it is. Name that person. So have you got a person?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing. In order to deepen that relationship, what would you need them to do? Not what you need to do. What would they need to do, irrespective of whether they want to, have ever done it before, or know how?
Call me and just say, you want to grab a beer?
Okay. And when you have that beer, what would you love them to do when you're sitting down with them having that beer? What is something that they haven't really done or expressed that you would love them to do with you?
Just ask me for advice.
So what would that, by somebody asking you for advice, what are they really saying? What are they really doing in that moment when they turn around and say, hey, can you advise me about X? What are they doing?
I trust you.
They trust you, but they're also being vulnerable.
Right.
They're saying that they trust you, and they're also being vulnerable, because when you ask for help, and that's one of the challenges with a lot of business owners today, they can't ask for help because they need to have it all figured out. They need to be able to do it themselves. And vulnerability, to ask for help, is a vulnerable place to be in. So here's my question, and you don't need to answer this right now. You may not even agree with this right now, but promise me if you sit with this long enough. So pick the person, identify what it is you would like that person, what that person needs to do in order to deepen the relationship. And here's my question. Are you doing it?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Are you doing it? Are you trusting them? Are you being vulnerable with them to the extent that you need to in order to give them permission to do the same?
I haven't done it.
Thank you for being honest. Thank you. You're not doing it. So back to your question. So you've got these business owners who have gone through some emotional or physical pain themselves. Mm-hmm. They've set up their gym. They've set up this environment. They've set up this place because they want to prevent the pain that they themselves went through for other people. They want to fast track the pain that they went through for other people. And they're so qualified, not because they've got the letters after their name. They're so qualified because they themselves experienced the pain. Doesn't mean they have the business intellect to execute the best systems and the best operation, the best sales channel, the best marketing. And that's often where they fail or fall down initially. Until, of course, you guys come along. So here's the thing. Are they showing their pain to their clients? Are they allowing their clients to feel the pain they went through? Or have they let go of that story because they don't feel it has any value anymore? Or they don't want to talk about themselves because they don't think their voice matters? And they're sitting there saying, okay, so body mass index, and so how many workouts have you done, and what have you done in the past, and what's your ultimate goal, and do you want to get into a size 24 jeans or 30? It's all intellectual bullshit that the clients can go into any gym and be asked the same question. But have you put a video on the front of your website saying, guys, I'm not here to create a stop story, but I need you to know why I do this. I need you to know why I set this gym up. I need you to know why I'm doing this. This is not about the money for me. This is the shit that I went through. This is the pain that I experienced. And my whole job, my whole why is to prevent you doing the same, to fast track you from where I was to where I am now faster than I did. If you want to be involved in that, come to my gym. You don't have to sell. So my advice to your guys is stop fucking selling. Don't sell. Tell them the story. There's two things I know about human beings. Number one is we all want to make an impact. Everybody. I don't care who it is. We may not go about it in a way that it looks that way. Number two is we want to, if you go to the core, and it's taken me 44 years, and if people aren't impressed with this, they won't like me, period. Because I'm telling you, it's taken me 44 years to figure this piece out. The next piece I think is hugely important. If you go to the absolute core, the DNA of a human being, they want to do one thing, or basically one of two things. They want to impact people first. Number two is, and this is broken into two slides, they want to prevent the pain they themselves experience for others. Or two is at least fast track the people through it. That's what a lot of people do in the health and wellness industry. They themselves have a story. They themselves have a pain. Now they want to develop a system or an environment or a community to help people experience better results and to move through the pain themselves. The problem is they're forgetting to tell people. So people can connect with that pain and go, oh my God, he did it too. Oh wow, she was where I was. Yes, she's a skinny little thing now and she can do bench press 10 times her weight or whatever. And that's intimidating. But God, that's hope. They're not telling their story. They've let go and they've moved beyond the pain and they're trying to fix pain and no one knows their story. That's the critical mistake they've made.
I love that. And I think my favorite part about that was the website. Let me tell you why I opened up this gym. And no, right now I would say 80% of the videos I see up there, arbitrarily throwing out that number, but my gut tells me about 80% of the videos that I've seen on people's websites and the message that they're getting across is, this is what makes me different from every other gym. This is why we're different. This is why we're better. And I also want to do one more thing too for everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, because in episode 34, we did an entire podcast on sales. And one of the things that I said in there is, don't talk about yourself. But I want to clarify because it's very different what I was talking about versus what Philip's talking about. When I said don't talk about yourself, if you think about the examples that I gave, it's really just making yourself your favorite topic. So somebody would say, oh yeah, I live on this street. Oh, I live on this street too. Yeah. And then just go off and literally just go on ramble about yourself for 5-10 minutes and lose the person, right? Mm-hmm. What you're talking about is very, very different. In this particular case, the person that you're talking with, you really want them to understand that you've been there before, right? Because now, like you said, okay, they've been where I am and now they're here. And that's a very, very different thing because the reason you don't want to ramble about things that don't create emotion, like, oh yeah, I live there too, or oh, I'm from back here, and oh, I like that song. And then you just keep on rambling about things that really don't matter too much. It's just about you and your favorite things. They can't relate to that and they're just kind of waiting for you to be done.
Yep.
But when you're talking about yourself in a way that relates to them emotionally, they're very much listening to you because it's their story. Would you agree?
Totally.
So in this, an example, tell me, let's say I'm talking to you, we're sitting down, I want to find out if it's the right feeling. We may start out with, why are you here? You may tell me why you're here. How long have you been wanting to, get to that place?
Yep. Yeah.
6 years, 7 years. So why now? Why not 6, 7 years ago? What's held you back? And now once that person starts exposing a little bit of their pain or the reason they were reluctant, now if it matches up to your story and it's authentic, at that point you can say, hey, just wanted to let you know it's totally normal. And I know what that feels like. That's actually the reason I started getting into fitness. Same reason you're sitting here today is the reason I started. And I want to tell you that it's very much possible to get to a really great place where you want to be.
Yeah.
You want to hear how I did it, right? And now this person is engaged and this person's listening, because even though you're talking about yourself, you're also really talking about them. Would you agree?
Yeah, and also one thing that I think is great in business, and I know a number of people in the health and fitness industry that, you know, they take every client that comes their way. And I'm not saying you don't or you should or you shouldn't or whatever. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but, you know, maybe, you know, when you tell your story, what ends up happening, whether you like it or not, you're basically saying, if you can relate to the story, my gym is for you. And I think too many gym owners, and this is just a personal thing, you may not agree with this, is they take everybody that's willing to walk in the door. I used to do that. And what I've done now in coaching is I say, okay, if you're living in your head and you want to stay in your head and you want to just be argumentative or whatever, you're going to suck up 60% of my energy. And there's 20 people behind you with their hands up saying, hey, I want a bit of this. And what I do is I'm spending so much money. It's not about giving up on people. It's about letting them go. But you don't even have to strategically go, hey, I work with women only, men only, you know, business entrepreneurs or whatever it happens to be. By telling your story, what you end up doing is attracting the people that relate to your story. So the energy in your gym, the energy in your premises is such that it's cohesive. It's an extension of who you are. So then you build this community of like-minded people, not just people who think or say or do really want to get into a better physical position.
They could all support each other.
They're all supporting, but they're understanding why they want to do it. They have a bigger why, and that's another thing that I see missing and again, I'm not just trying to pick holes in it, but when I talk to people who have gyms or work in gyms, is that they want to know what you want to achieve, but not many people are asking, just out of curiosity, if you had this body that you say you want, if you had this energy that you say, what would you do with it? What an incredible question. And I don't mean incredible because I'm asking it, incredible for them to consider. Well, what do you mean? But what are you going to do with this? And listen, I don't want to try to put you on the spot. Let's just role play this. But just maybe something for you to consider. You know, what would it mean to you? And then what you get is the client thinking, wow, she'll be a better mom, be a better husband. Geez, maybe I'll have more energy to play with the kids. And now you're getting them into this place where now the motivation, the inspiration is really starting to fire. And now they're really emotionally engaged with not just an intellectual outcome, an intellectual goal or intention. Now their emotion is in the game. Oh boy, now do you have a client that's invested? Now do you have a client that you're going to retain? Now do you have a client that's going to go out onto the street and promote the living shit out of your business because you cared enough to ask them the question that no one else is going to ask them? That's the difference.
Man, I love that. All right, so I want to talk about one last thing, because, and actually, really quick, I want to go on that one more time.
Can I just share one other thing, by the way?
Yeah, 100%.
Can I share one thing?
Yes.
Sorry. So let's just go back to this vulnerability thing very quickly, and I want to just prove one point. It's almost to solidify what we've talked about, but also kind of show you the commercial reality of this. If people are sitting there going, so it's very fluffy. Vulnerability. I mean, what's that got to do with like signing members up? It's got everything to do with signing members up. And I proved this one day. I brought a group of people in that were in the financial industry, all these sales guys and financial advisors. And most of them didn't know each other. And I got them to share something personal with themselves, very invitational, fun. But one girl got up and she wasn't, and that's the difference. She didn't just go vulnerable and deep to try and impress. Okay, she shared something that you could physically see and emotionally see that she struggled with. And we all did this invitationally, and some people did it, some people didn't. And then about 2 hours later, I created this exercise. All right, you've got 50 grand, $50,000. Who in this room would you invest it with? And one guy said, pretty much, Sarah over there, I'd invest it with her. And I said, okay. And people were going on. I said, just hang on a second, John. Why Sarah? He goes, she knows her numbers. Like, she really knows the market. I said, how do you know? Because you don't know each other. And she goes, oh yeah, I don't know her. Well, she looks professional. So that's not the reason. And we tracked it back And he didn't even know. But what had happened was, when she was vulnerable, authentically vulnerable, he connected emotionally with her. And instantly he felt, not a rapport, I'm not crazy, he felt connected as a human to her. And when I gave him 50 grand, not literally, but metaphorically, he said, I want to invest with her, not because she's got the best business skills, not because she knows the market, not because she's got the best investment products. He said, invest her because I really like her. I trust her and I can relate to her. So that's the upside of vulnerability. It has a commercial and a personal upside as long as you do it authentically.
So going to vulnerability, telling your story and using that story I want to share with you guys that I think you might like as well. I took on this one coaching client, personal trainer. She basically went to people's homes and she did in-home personal training. She was getting really burnt out as people were all over the city, which could be very exhausting to drive throughout the day. And so we talked about her and her business, what she really would rather do. She likes the few online clients that she had. So we said, let's find out how we can get more online clients. And we got deep into her story. You would never guess it because she has like 15% body fat, which is really great for a female, right? And I asked more and more about her. She had 2 major back surgeries. She has 2 titanium rods going down her back and was told that she'd probably never be able to really run again. Like jogging wouldn't be in the question for her. And now she's hiking and running up mountains and all this stuff. And her 2 favorite clients were clients that had back issues. Those were her 2 favorite clients. So we said, why don't we just be a back pain personal trainer? Why don't we just brand you as that's what you love working with? It's what you can relate to, brings you joy when you see them doing it. Because the biggest fear for these people that have had major back injuries that don't understand fitness is re-injuring it in the gym and getting to that place of, I can't even sleep now, or I can't walk to work. I can't do the things I need to do. And for her, what she did was she didn't understand why the doctors were telling this and the chiropractors and everyone was giving her different advice and different suggestions of what her future was going to look like. So she just started studying on her own and really interviewing and learning on her own. And she learned a ton on how to get herself not just back to where she needs to be or where she wants to be, but even past that. And so she branded herself, bought the domain Back Pain Personal Trainer, Back Pain Personal Trainers, all those. Since then, she was charging $60, $65 an hour, not including the drive time. Now, she loves her job. In the last 2 months, she's gotten 5 online clients at $5,000 a piece, right? This is a girl that her goal was to, just be able to make, if she can make 6-7 grand, she'd be happy. She's making more money than she set out, but that wasn't even what she's happy about. What she's happiest about is that she's helping people in the way that she enjoys more. The people that wanted to lose 50 pounds, that felt good, but it didn't feel great. It was a guy that was scared to walk into the gym because he didn't know if he was going to re-injure himself, but he felt like he was letting himself go at the same time.
Yeah.
And so for you guys that are watching and listening, think about what this story with Melanie and think a lot about what Philip said and think about what drives you, because Melanie, once she really connected those dots, the money became secondary for her now, which is funny because she's making more than she set out.
It's always the way.
It's always the way. But what's more exciting is that she's driving, her passion is really driving her future, which is great.
And then it's interesting, go back to the goals comment earlier on, is like her goal was to make 5 or 6 grand a month or whatever it is to get by. And that's the problem when you create financial goals. Either people have very low financial goals or massively high financial goals. And I'm more interested in is not what do you want to do with your life, how do you want to create your business, what mechanics do you need to put in place, strategies and tactics. I want to know why you're doing it. And if you can get in touch with that and you can help people get in touch with why you do it, which through the storytelling, through the personal narrative, it'll all work out. And what'll end up happening is you've got to be prepared for the people who really relate to your story to come, and you've got to be prepared to let go of the clients that don't relate to your story to come. Friends or clients in that matter. And that scarcity thing sometimes prevents people from telling their story, being vulnerable, and therefore getting the results that this girl got.
So there are people that are listening and now they're starting to probably think about their own dots and how they can connect them. They probably starting to think about things that they want, and they know that they want to get it. They know they want to be there, but they don't know how to get there. And so they don't really know how. That's probably what's going to stop them. What do you think about people that are asking how?
Well, I had a client years ago, and we were talking about this briefly, and years ago, where every time I was on the phone to him, he'd come on and we'd chat about stuff, and he would say, well, how does that work? And how does this work? And how does that work? And when people are constantly asking the how question, it basically tells you one thing: is they're stuck here. They're stuck in this head. And and for so many people in the world today, and I don't mean this in a condescending, derogatory way, but we don't need these magnificent bodies. Because a lot of us just need two little legs on our heads and we'd be fine, because that's 90% where we live in, or 95%. But if they're keeping asking how questions, one is they need to look at how much time they live in their head and why they live in their head. But going back to the how question, I'm on this phone this one day and I'm getting more and more frustrated with this guy because he keeps asking the how questions. And I stopped him in his tracks one day, completely unrehearsed, and I sat there and I said, Ian, I said, do you know how an orgasm works? And he was like totally taken aback. He says, excuse me? I said, do you know how an orgasm works? Do you know how, the chemical release in the body and the biology and the chemistry and everything? Do you know how an orgasm works from A to Z? He goes, no. I said, great, but who gives a shit? You either want them or you don't. Who cares about how they work? You either want them or you don't. And I'm telling you right now, if you get in touch with what it is you want, and you combine that, which is often massively intellectual, and you combine that with what I believe is more emotional or intuitive, and that is why you want it. The how will look after itself. I know it's an old cliche. It's probably one of the most frustrating things you'll ever say to somebody who lives in their head, because they torment themselves with the needing to know.
Hey there again. So last week you got to see part 1 of this episode, and this is part 2, but I wanted to make sure you got the amazing giveaway that Philip wanted you to have. So here it is next.
All right, well, thank you so much. Last thing, you have this DVD right here, this documentary you did. In 30 seconds or so, give me a nutshell, what is this thing about?
If you want to know the difference between your talent and your gift, this is the documentary for you. People are walking through this earth executing their talent and never honoring their gift. And if I had to decide what is a gift, it's basically taking passion and going even deeper. We're slapping the word passion on wine and widgets and motorbikes and everything else now. And I think what we've done is commercialize the concept of passion. I want to go deeper, and I believe it's our gift, which all of us have. If you understand what your gift is, intellectually, start to begin to explore what it is emotionally, and help you understand how you might unleash that in the world. That's what this documentary is about.
Guys, he's done a lot of work on this, and this thing's gotten some really great reviews. So if you want it, Philip's actually going to be hooking us up. All the viewers, you want to text the number 44222, and what you want to put in that text is GSD 041. So text GSD 041 to the number 44222, and we're going to go ahead and hook you up with one of these. Sound good? Philip, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I kind of got lost. I don't even realize how this went as long as it did. I was so engaged in the conversation. It was fantastic, and I can't wait to learn more from you. And how can people learn more about you?
PhilipMcKernan.com or giveandgrow.com, which is where the film is, and they can link up with me from there.
Follow Philip. Thank you so much, man.
Cheers.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you like this episode, then subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. You can get all the links by going to thegsdshow.com. Thanks, and see you next time.